培养效果，观察交配、打斗等等的行为，展现出还有一些像漂浮了、翻滚了。
in the space right now by Chinese taikonauts included very interesting items.
Such as the cure of the loss of bones, such as the weakening of the muscles, and also we can have some other medicine making and proteins made for improve our daily lives. So these are very, very meaningful and which have very direct returns to our daily life. Moreover, there are also many other research, for instance, such as the study on the self of human beings. I mean, even some of the cancer cells in outer space to study the influence of radiation to these cells. Not only will be useful for our medical care, but also very useful for the expedition teams in the future to go deeper into outer space.
Right, and what about the content, the cargo that Tianzhou 9 is going to upload there? Anything related to new items of the science research?
Exactly. So this time, according to the formal announcements of China Manned Space Agency, the most important one will 2 additional EVA spacesuits. You know that our Tiangong have 3 EVA spacesuits, the second generation Feitian spacesuit before, with the belt marked in red, in blue, and in yellow. The original design lifespan for this spacesuit are 15 times within 3 years. But with the practice in recent years, we proved that the performance of our Feitian spacesuit is very, very excellent. So the lifespan of the newly uploaded 2 ones will expand it to 20 times for within 4 years. So this will save a lot of money. You know that the EVA spacesuit is the most expensive clothes for human being, and with the limited lifespan and the limited time of usage, so when it is expanded, it can save more money.
Right, and they must be large, rigid, and weighty. How were they packed inside of the ship?
Quite right. So the volume of the cargo spacecraft is limited, so it must be packed, and it will be assembled in the Tiangong space station for the new EVA, as you already mentioned before.
Right, and rapid rendezvous is now the norm, and Tianzhou 9 is going to have a very precise and rapid rendezvous or docking with Tiangong Station. Can you walk us through on the guidance and navigation and also control sequence of that docking?
Well, exactly. I can still remember during my first cooperation with CGT, actually the CCTV news before, we tested the rendezvous and the docking technology. At that era, from Shenzhou 8 to Shenzhou 10, the interval between the launch and the docking will be 2 days. But today it can minimize to 6 to 2 hours. So it not only raise more higher requirement to our, as you mentioned, the guidance, navigation, and control, but also that it will be very, very helpful to conducting scientific research. We've already discussed about microbiology study. You know that for some live animals, if we can shorten the interval between the launch and the docking, it will be very helpful to keep the very good status for these animals.
Right, it will be getting back to you, Mr. Yang, in a moment. Well, this actually marks the 10th launch mission of the Long March 7 rocket, and both the rocket and the Tianzhou spacecraft are equipped with emergency response capabilities designed to be launched on short notice in special situations.
If the space station encounters a relatively urgent need, the backup rocket can complete an emergency launch within 3 months. This model is also similar to the Long March 2F rocket, and it has been further improved for the operational support of China's space station.
In terms of supporting the astronauts' needs, we have a 3-month supply of food which need to be replenished once the space station stock is exhausted. The supply of materials must be continuous, stable, and uninterrupted. Therefore, the reason behind our emergency backup spacecraft is to ensure the continuous and smooth operation of the space station.
Now let's get back to Mr. Yang and about the rocket that carries Tianzhou 9. Can you tell us about that, the Long March 7 rocket?
Well, Long March 7 rocket is a mid-sized launch vehicle in our new generation Long March launch vehicle. It uses kerosene and liquid oxygen as its propellant. It's environmental friendly, not toxic, not corrosive. So it is very powerful. You know that I can still remember that in 2016, CCTV conducted the live coverage of the maiden flight of the launch of the Long March 7 launch vehicle. Today it is also improved, and you know that the launch vehicle is more reliable than before. And you know that the Long March 7 launch vehicle is a 2.5-stage launch vehicle with a core stage diameter 3.35 meters and 4 boosters. You may notice it's very beautiful. And Long March 7 series has the most slim boosters compared with other launch vehicles of China. So as you already seen on the launch pad, you know that the rotary platform has already opened. But you may notice, look on this screen, still there are some arms in brown connected to the launch vehicle, because you know that at this moment we still have the electricity connection and the signal connection to the launch vehicle. And you may notice that when to go to launch, the white forks in the stages of the launch vehicle will disappear, which means that we do not need to add new propellants to the launch vehicle.
Right now, actually, from the pictures, live signals we just saw, right now Mission Control has just initiated the automated countdown sequence already, and in this final stretch,
Yes.
All critical systems like propulsion, and we can see the arms that you mentioned are beginning to move, and telemetry and communications, guidance, etc. are ongoing. Last second verification. This is actually a full autonomous launch, isn't it?
Yes. You may notice that, as you mentioned, the arms in brown color has some already separated from the launch vehicle. The arms have the
1 minute.
cables. Okay, T minus 1 minute.
T minus, yes, and with the backup system standing by already, and as well, our reporter just said the weather conditions today are optimal. Very good for launch, and clear skies, low wind, good visibility, 40 seconds.
Although in this season, the Hainan province is very hot and very wet. So this is not very friendly, but at least the weather is clear.
30 seconds, gradually approaching to the final moment of launch.
So the 6 engines on the boosters and the core stage will ignite simultaneously.
Okay. 15 seconds. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Lift off. And we can see that the Long March 7 Y10 rocket roars to life, piercing into the morning sky in a short moment. And the orange, different from the white plume just now, it is now the orange plume at its base as the engines generate nearly 707 tons of thrust, lifting the 30-ton Tianzhou 9 on its journey to low Earth orbit.
So after liftoff, the first critical step will be the pitch over, which means that the direction of the flight will change from a vertical one to the eastward. And you know that the Tiangong space station is orbiting the Earth at the altitude of about 400 kilometers with the inclination about 41 degrees. So it must go to the right direction.
And as the rocket climbs, it actually undergoes several critical steps. The four-side booster separate like petals falling away.
Yes, at about 170 seconds after liftoff.
each has completed its job of giving the rocket, that is, when they separate it, and the initial push through Earth's atmosphere. It's like a firing bird from that angle.
Quite beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. So this is the infrared video image taken from the ground stations. So all the optical and the radars monitor the flight.
And a moment later, the payload fairing will split open.
We still wait. So this is a video come from the camera mounted on the fuselage of the rocket, looking backwards. We can still see the four booster, two of the four boosters.
So the four boosters are still there.
Yeah. So it will be separated at about 173 seconds
after the launch.
Liftoff. Yeah.
After the launch, and I think it's nearly the time to separate those four boosters.
So that's the separation of the four boosters will be a very critical step. We heard the voice from the ground station that the tracking from the optical and radars are very normal.
So it goes on very smoothly.
Exactly. So the separation will be soon. We can see the flames of the flame of the core stage and the four boosters. The core stage have two engines, which similar to the rocket engines used on the boosters.
Oh, this angle is very beautiful. So what's the speed at the moment?
It's already in a supersonic flow. Okay, the separation is perfect.
The four boosters are away now.
So then will be the separation of the first stage. Okay, the first stage also separated. Now you can see two of the four engines on the second stage. This engine is called YF115 rocket engine. Each have a thrust of about 18 metric tons in vacuum condition. And it is very interesting. You can see two of the engines. One is fixed, and the other one can rotate in different directions to control the attitude of the rocket. Because you know that every time we have disturbance from outside, we need to stabilize the fuselage of the rocket and also change its direction to the right one. So we need the adjustment of the direction of the thrust. So with the rotation of the nozzles of the rocket engines, we can conduct this.
So it's the captain of the ship to decide the direction.
We don't have a captain because
right,
it's
so it's unmanned. So it's
as you mentioned, it is autonomous one. So it's based on its onboard computer. And it is very interesting that, as I mentioned, we have four engines on the second stage. Two are fixed, and the other two can rotate. And the next step will be the separation of the payload fairings. Now, on the left of the screen, we can see the video inside the payload fairing. We can see some of the our Tianzhou 9 cargo spacecraft. And we will see the separation of the payload fairing soon.
So the fairing splits will fall away in two halves.
Exactly. So when the altitude is very high and the atmosphere density is low enough, so it will not do harm to the Tianzhou spacecraft. So at that moment, to save energy, we will not need the payload fairing. We will separate it.
So when it reaches at the current stage, has the ship reached the upper atmosphere already?
I believe at this moment it's already in outer space.
So
we will is above the common line. So we will separate the payload fairing soon.
So this is Tianzhou 9's first official exposure to the space.
After the separation of the payload fairing.
The payload fairing, right.
So the wind will not threaten the safety of our
The protective shell are no longer needed.
And you may notice, you can already see the background, the curve of the Earth's horizon.
And the astronauts in Tiangong actually are watching the launching process as well.
Yes.
Why are they why are they watching that? What does it mean to them?
Because it's important for them.
I mean, apart from waiting for the payloads, of course, why are they watching
So after several hours, the the Tianzhou will reach the station and they will conduct a docking. So they will monitor that. And I believe that this signal is come from the CMG.
Right. It is.
Yes. It is very interesting. Several years before, your colleagues in the studio say hello to our Tiangong
Yes, yes.
to astronauts. Mr. Jing Haipeng replied to her. Very, very interesting.
It seems that it's no longer a myth to communicate with space or with the astronauts
But
in
it is
space.
a one-way communication.
One-way
because they cannot hurt your anchors. So, as I mentioned, the payload fairing will be separated soon. The last voice we heard is from the ground of the tracking. You may notice that the flame, the shape of the flame is quite different from the first stage because it's already in the vacuum condition. So the flame, the shape is different from those in the atmosphere.
Everything's going on.
The ground staff told
Very
that the telemetry
smoothly,
comes
so
normal.
far, so good.
Yeah.
It's interesting that astronauts are really waiting for the delivery boy.
And their fresh food.
Fresh food,
Especially
and
the fruit.
training machines,
Yeah.
and all the experiment items.
Yeah. You know, as a native of Inner Mongolia, you know that Mr. Wang Jie is the first taikonaut from Inner Mongolia. So I believe that Tianzhou 9 will bring some delicious food with, good for Inner Mongolia people.
They must miss the food on Earth. I bet that.
Yes. Especially the fresh vegetables and fresh fruits, they will be their favorite.
And about the food they are eating at Tiangong, are there any, the nutrition are enough, but what about the flavor?
That's every time they have different crew, and every time the food is prepared dedicated for the certain astronauts. For instance, Jing Haipeng, our favorite commander, he's from Shanxi province, and bring many vinegar for him. And also, you know that I believe this time we will have some Inner Mongolia food for Mr. Wang Jie.
Such as?
Maybe shawmai, maybe some noodles.
Mongolian shawmai is huge. I don't think they will send huge shawmai.
And the lamb in Mongolia is very perfect.
Lamb, of course, but won't be fresh lamb.
Yeah.
That's a pity.
Still, you can see that on the Wenchang spacecraft launch site, still in dark, but with the spacecraft going eastward, you can now see the bright horizon of the Earth.
Right.
Very beautiful.
And we can see some Chinese characters on the screen. Second stage engine. So when will the core stage shut down and separate?
Well, it has two steps. First, as I mentioned, the fixed engine has already shut down.
Right.
And you may notice that the other one is still working, with the one with servo units which can rotate. And it will precisely adjust the direction and also make sure that the orbital parameters is accurate enough. And then it will shut down.
No flames now.
Great. You can see the nozzles of the Tianzhou spacecraft. And the next critical step will be the unfolding of the solar panels of our Tianzhou 9.
So all these steps are fully pre-programmed and monitored.
Yes.
By the China Space Tracking Network, of course, including
mainly controlled by the onboard computer of either our Long March 7 and our Tianzhou 9 spacecraft.
It's like a wanderer.
So this is video still come from the camera mounted on the second core stage of our Tianzhou spacecraft, looking to the front.
And where will the cool stage, stage end?
That's the second stage is in the same orbit of our Tianzhou spacecraft.
Right.
So it will deorbit several days after this launch.
Okay.
you may notice that every time the China Manned Space Agency will announce the orbital parameters of the second stage, because you know that if you avoid any hazards to our ground properties.
And what will happen to Tianzhou 9 after it completes its mission?
Tianzhou 9 will conduct autonomous rendezvous and some orbital maneuvers to chasing up our Tiangong space station and dock to the rear docking port of our Tiangong spacecraft. You may notice that these moments, although at this moment Wenchang and Beijing is still in darkness, but our Tianzhou has already been in the sunshine area. You may see it's very bright now.
Right.
So you can see the background is the Earth.
And the Yuanwang class tracking ships out at sea are still monitoring it.
Exactly. So
well.
at this moment, our Yuanwang space tracking ship is in the Pacific Ocean, and they will monitor the critical step. Okay, the solar panels is unfolded according to the 3D animation. Although you know that this is a 3D animation, but it represents the real status of the spacecraft. So the Tianzhou 9 has 2 solar wings, each have 3 solar panels.
Okay.
So next, the ground staff will verify and calculate the final orbital parameters. Only when the orbital parameters is accurate enough can we announce it is a successful launch. Because we need it to be accurate enough to chase up